Alright, so next up in our NeetCode 150 adventure, we are going to do valid anagram. Full disclosure, I just did this problem, but my mic wasn't recording. So I'm going to do it one more time. Hopefully it's a bit more coherent this time as well. So basically the premise of this problem, we're given two strings, S and T, and we want to determine if the strings are anagrams of each other, where an anagram is basically if I can shuffle the letters around from one string to make the other string, right? So for example, they give us example one, anagram, and then anagram shuffled. Those are anagrams of each other, right? So but true. Whereas rat and car aren't anagrams, right? Because there's no way that you could shuffle a rat around to make car. More importantly, that you're missing a C and you replaced it with a T. So if you haven't tried this problem, go ahead and give it a try yourself. We're going to run through and solve it really quickly. So basically, in this problem, we wanted to kind of determine two things, right? Do the two strings have the same letter, have the same letters? And, do they have the same number of letters? So we're going to try and solve the second question, and then the first question should kind of come naturally, right? So you should be looking at this problem right now, and you're thinking, okay, I have, a bunch of characters and a string. I want to figure out how to count. What's the easiest way to count things? Linearly, right, from starting from left to right. Instantly, you should think map, right? Because I can map, a character to an integer, and I can store it for as I loop through the string. So we're gonna have, a map, let's say, of characters to integers, character capital C, integer capital I, I'll call it new map. I'll say that this is equal to a new hash map. And then, right, let's loop through one of the strings, let's say string S. So for int I equals 0, as long as I is less than s dot length, I plus plus. And then what we're gonna do, right, is we're gonna put the value in the map, right? So we're gonna count, if the value is not in the map, we're gonna put 1. If the value is in the map, we're gonna update the value in the map by 1. Right, so how we do something like that. This is actually a really cool one-liner. I suggest you kind of just remember it for later because we use this all the time. So I'm going to say, memap.put. The key in this case is going to be s.car at I, right, because that's the key I want to put for. And then I can say, memap.get or default s.car at I. 0 plus 1. So what get our default does, right, is if the value is in the map, if this key is in the map, it's going to go ahead and fetch it for me. If it's not in the map, it's going to return 0. So basically, let's say that S, just for argument's sake, was the string AA, and the first loop, what's going to happen is it's going to say, okay, put the value A in the map, and it's going to say get our default, so get me the value A, but the map is currently empty, right? There's nothing in the map yet. So return the value 0 plus 1, and then it's going to end up looking something like, A maps to 1. Do the second time, and then memap, like our default, is going to say, oh, you're passing an A is already in the map, it's 1, plus 1, put 2, and there we go, we have an accurate count, right? So let's say now we have the string ABC for S. A is going to map to 1, B is going to map to 1, C is going to map to 1, right? And then if we want to determine, hey, does the second string have the same number of characters as the first string? Well, that shouldn't be too bad, right? So let's just loop through the second string. And some of you might be inclined to make a second map. You could definitely do that and kind of compare them at the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract from our initial map, right? So I'm just going to use the initial map we already have. And I'm going to say, memap.put. T.car at I, so the value that I'm currently looking at, and either get me the value that already exists in the map. So either get me the value that already exists in the map, let's see, at T.car at I, or get me the value 0 and subtract 1 from it. All right, so let's say we have the map ABC above, and then let's say that T was DBCA. Okay, suddenly D is not in the map, right? So I'm going to try and get it. It's going to return 0, and then I'm going to subtract 1. D is going to map to -1. Let's see. And then A I'm going to fetch. I'm going to subtract 1, 0. B I'm going to fetch. I'm going to subtract 1. It's going to be 0. C I'm going to fetch. I'm going to subtract 1. It's going to be 0. And we can see that these are invalid anagrams of each other, right? Because D isn't in the first character, or sorry, isn't in the first string, but is in the second string. And we can see that our map is kind of in an invalid state, right? Because D has a -1 map to it, whereas A, B, and 0, 0. So again, it should seem pretty natural to you that, okay, now I can loop through this map, right? So I can say, you know, for character C in me map.keyset. Go ahead and loop to the map. And I can basically, you know, fetch the value, right? So I can say, you know, if me map.get C is not equal to 0, then go ahead and return false. Otherwise, at the end, I should be good to just return true. It's kind of cut off a bit, but trust me, it's there, return true. So yeah, that should be fairly straightforward. One thing to watch out for is that values and maps are objects, even if they're kind of primitive types. So whenever you're comparing objects in Java, always use a .equals function, because the double equals compares the values and references, not the actual objects themselves. So this should work. To talk about one more time, make a map. In this case, I only made 1, but if you want, you can make 2, but that comes more naturally to you. We're going to populate the count of the characters in the first string. Then I'm going to loop through the second string, and I'm going to start subtracting. And then at the end, if I see that any of the values are not equal to 0, then I know that I've made a mistake and this is not an anagram. I can go ahead and I can return false. And then all the way at the very end, I can return true. So let's go ahead and run this. Let's see what happens. If it'll let me scroll down. There we go. Run. Did I mess up somewhere? You mapped that put. Oh, this should be t.cart. Run this again. There we go. Submit it. There we go. That works. Hopefully that worked out for everyone. Let me know if anything comes up.